Okay, let's try this again with audio, shall we? Right, so yes, it's Andrew. Hi, it's a Range Rover update. Following on from last week's Shell update, and that's taken a dramatic turn for the bad. But I'll come to that at the end, I think. Yes, so this is, let me just remind you, this is my SCX10ii Cherokee kit chassis. So it's got the lower gearbox, rather than the windmill thing that the builder's kit comes with. What did they ever do with this gearbox? I don't know. What was wrong with it? And do any other axial kits use this gearbox? Let me know in the comments. I don't know, because I like it. Anyway, that's beside the point. So this is the 10.2 chassis. It's got Traxxas shocks on. They need rebuilding. So if you see it sort of collapsing and sticking, then that's, I think this back wheel sticks sometimes. Anyway, I know about all that. To the interior. Now, what you're looking at with the interior is the LC80 Land Cruiser interior. I saw this on Steve's RC Crawlers Mid Wales. I saw that on his full LC80 build, and I knew that these were the seats I wanted in my Range Rover Mark 1 Vogue. So this is a sort of early 90s 5-door Range Rover with the chin spoiler and so on. That was the deluxe version. The velour seats, big armrests and all that kind of thing going on. Definitely not the farmer's car that the first Range Rover Classic was. So I couldn't use those seats that came with the Range Rover interior. They're on the Mog anyway. So I had to have proper big seats, big headrests and all the rest of it. So that's what I've got. I don't have the right dash. I'm sure some of you, the aficionados, will know that the original Mark 1 Classic dash was replaced for the Vogue. It was slightly modified. This isn't quite the right dashboard, no, but nobody does the right one, so I've had to make do with this one. One of the main issues I've had so far is trying to get the seats at the right height. Now, the seats, as you can maybe look at them, or maybe you can't, 1 second. Yeah, so the seats as you look at them are sitting much higher than the kit, the interior kit was expecting. And as you can see the difference there. So these are supposed to be floor mounted. In the LC80, these would be sitting on the floor. There was some grooves along here where the seats would fit. Can you see them on? Yeah. So I've had to stack these up because the Range Rover was known, it's got very deep windows on the Range Rover Mark 1, and it was very much a characteristic how high in it you sat. So your knees, you know, when you're sitting, the window line was roughly where his arm is. So that is, for me, a very important characteristic. When you look at one of the pictures of these Range Rovers, you look at see an original, how high up these big captain's chairs are. And you know, it gave you the elevated driving position and really made the reputation of the vehicle what it is. So I wanted to recreate that. I didn't want these seats sitting way down and him sitting way down as a result. I've achieved that with Lego bricks. There's a bunch of Lego bricks holding the seats up, which I've bolted through in the driver's seat case, and I've just glued with the passenger seat where there's no weight or force involved on the passenger seat. But if this thing starts rattling about on the rocks, I don't want the whole thing collapsing. So this is quite a strong mount. I've also reinforced it here with a strip of styrene, which again I'll be painting this obviously to match, so it's a little less intrusive. I'm not opening the doors on this, just hence the mess. You know, I haven't really tidied up. What I have done is carpeted though. I'm quite proud of that. I have found some sticky backed carpeting felt type thing, which I have covered up a lot of the Dremel butchery that I've had to do to make the tub fit. I have also got the armrests on the seats. You'll notice there I've made some armrests up. They are an integral part of the Range Rover look, if you ask me. You'll notice maybe that the driver's side is up. I've put this in the upright position again because of his arm, and I'm getting the shell on and off. It's going to catch this arm, which is really meant to be poking out the window, gesticulating in an aggressive manner. You know, passing cyclists, that sort of thing, eh, Steve? So I've put this in the upright position because they're only super glued on, and obviously they'll just break off like twigs. But yeah, so that's pretty much where I am. The back seats, the big bench seats for the back, that sits on the. It's got its own mounts on here from the floor tub, but it's also got sits on the back of the shock towers, like so. It was made to be there, right? And it's almost the right height. I mean, it's the same height as the front seats, which I think is fairly realistic. It probably should be up a little bit, but I'm not, you know. The windows basically are tinted. The idea is these two windows are going to be rolled down, but these are going to be tinted, and these are going to be blackened out very heavily, more heavily perhaps than I'd first anticipated, because the battery is going to live in the back here. So there's the motor cables poking out from the motor. The ESC is going to sit under the back seat and reach through to the battery, which is going to sit in this foam packing there. Okay, so it's going to be accessible through the rear hatch. I may have to play with the spring rates and so on just to allow for the battery weight sitting like in the back here. I don't really want this shell taken off on the Welsh mountainsides and lying about in the gravel, you know, while I'm changing batteries and things. So that's that. Now, also there's some door cards. So I'm going heavy on the old beige thing here, obviously, as befits the age of the Range Rover. British Leyland beige. So I've got these are Team Raffi, let's get it right, Team Raffi Land Rover D90, D110 door card set. It's about, you know, a tenner or something inconsequential. So these are really cool. They're a bit short for the doors on the Range Rover, you know, but it doesn't matter. You're not going to see them greatly. I've cut a little bit out here for the dashboard. This is the one that's going to sit here. Yeah, so it's going to go in there, and it's going to that's really for the dashboard. You can see how that's going to, you know, it's going to come onto the dashboard and just leaves a little bit of room for that to sit when it goes on. So yeah, these are done. Now I have been messing about with a wood effect paintwork. Let me just make sure the camera's focusing on this. So yeah, so really the wood effect I've done on these things is it's just brush paint. There's about 3 shades of brown and a little bit of black. And you know what I basically do is put on the main colour you can see, that kind of brown, darky, reddy brown. Put that on, and I don't let it dry completely. I then mix up some lighter brown. It's all on the same palette, so these paints end up getting a little bit mixed together, which is good because then it stops looking, you know, so uniform. So I put this kind of caramelly colour, a bit more like the door card colour, you know. Put that on the top. Lightly, just put a few streaks on, and then what I do is I take a cocktail stick and I just make lines through the sort of sticky paint, and not heavy, obviously you don't want to go down to plastic, but you just want to put a little bit of, just drag the paint a little bit, because you know how wooden, you know, especially in the cars, this has this kind of dark vein in it, and it just kind of gives it, you can actually feel, well you can't, obviously I can, there is a texture on this where I've done that. You hear it? So that's smooth, that's texture, yeah? So on there and then I repeat the exercise with a bit of, not black, but a darkened base brown. And again, I just run cocktail stick or you know, something reasonably sharp, like a stiff brush as well. They're quite useful to doing that. And it just drags the paint around a bit and makes, especially if you use the cocktail stick, you can actually get a decent bit of texture on there, which helps as well when the light catches it. It gives it that sort of 3D, especially old, slightly where maybe the varnish is cracked a little bit as well. Anyway, hopefully you can get an idea of that. As I say, it's hard for me to see whether the camera's focused on that properly, but hopefully it has. If it hasn't, I'll take some stills and put them in the video. And of course, each one's different. So the dashboard I've also done the same way. If we're going to pick that up, camera, there we go. So you can see the center console's been done, and the instrument binnacle has been done with the same effect. So like I said before, this is not the right dashboard for this type of Range Rover, but I've poshed it up so that it's, you know, semi-believable. I've also not put the official steering wheel on. This is the steering wheel from the LC80 that came with the tub. because it's a bit more modern, a little bit less like a bicycle wheel, which also helps get it past the driver when I take the shell on and off. So, and all of this shell on and off thing is in theory. I haven't done a whole bunch of this in practice yet because the shell's been painted, as you know. So yeah, it's all about, it could all go badly wrong the first time. In anger, I have to take this apart and everything snaps off. Yeah, so what else have I got to talk about? Well, I'll get you the shell. Let me get the shell and show you what's gone wrong with that. Okay, so give or take, this is roughly how it's going to look. And I'm pretty excited about the colours and about how the shell sits on these rims, and how, as you can see, the seat is a pretty decent height in there. It looks kind of commanding, I hope, from the head-on view. But all is not well with the paint. You can maybe tell that the bonnet is a little bit scratched and matted looking, especially compared to this top section here by the sort of windscreen surround. What happened to the paint? Let me zoom in and hopefully you can see. I did the brown, lacquered it and left it 24 hours. I used Tamiya clear lacquer, PS13 I think it is. Not Halford's lacquer, which is, Halford's is the brand of paint I've used, automotive paint. I used the Tamiya because I've used it before, and it dries like a shell, so that's great. 24 hours I left it, give or take, and then I had some brown overspray on the black on the window areas, so I masked off the brown. I also had this rubbing strip down the side here to do in black as well. So I masked off all the brown with decorator's tape primarily, which is not something I've had a problem with before. Did all that. As you can see, rubbing strip is nice. I did try and do a chrome strip on there, but that was a disaster, so I had to do that twice as well. And I took all the tape off the other morning, hoping it was going to look stunning and I was going to be able to send pictures to everybody and feel awesome about myself, only to find that the tape had lifted a lot of the lacquer off. So maybe you can see in the light there that there is a rough, scaly finish all over the brown. Big strips of it or small scaly bits, it doesn't really matter. Fortunately, it hasn't gone through to the paint, so we're just talking about the lacquer being damaged. So my plan really, after talking to Steve and Terry, is I am starting to rub down the lacquer with some 2000 grade sandpaper, so it doesn't take huge chunks out. It just rubs it down, makes it a little bit smooth. So that's going to happen all over the brown, like all over the brown, including the tailgate, which isn't on here, as you can see. And then I'm going to re-lacquer it, so that'll be tomorrow. It's Saturday today, that'll be tomorrow, it'll be Sunday. I'll put another big coat of lacquer on to try and sink and fill all the sanding marks and make it all nice and smooth again. If it doesn't, then I've also put more lacquer on that I can sand back. I've made more of a protective barrier to the paint. Because the problem is, if I cut through to the paint, it'll go straight through to the grey primer and probably straight through to the white plastic. I will then have to respray, and guarantee when I respray a panel it won't be the same tone as the rest of it, and you're then into a state of affairs looking like your truck's had a new door put on it, or of course you have to respray the whole damn thing, which I don't really want to have to do. So I'm going to prepare the lacquer damage, then I'm going to respray, and if I need to, I'll repeat the exercise, putting more and more lacquer on until I get back to the same mirror finish. The roof, fortunately, is still pristine because that wasn't part of the taping off exercise. Thank God, because that's not on the truck at the moment, as you could maybe remember if I show you. There you go. So there's no roof on. The roof panel is a way of being done separately. So yeah, so that's where we are with this. Well, it's a bit of a shame, isn't it? But yeah, so there you go. That's your Rangie update over and out. I will continue with the lacquer. Do find us on Instagram and follow along on there, because that's where you'll get sort of daily updates as I do stuff. I've got an unboxing to do now, so I will say goodbye. Thank you very much, and get on with that. Hey.